Okay, so in this video, we're going to take a look at different ways that we can import modules into a Python file. And first of all, we've already seen how we can import a module. In this example, we've imported the adder module, and then we are able to access the functions within the adder module by putting the module name, so adder, then putting dot notation, and then accessing the add function. We can then put parentheses, and when we enter two arguments and then press return, we can see that these arguments are added together. Now, if we wanted to import another module, we could do the same thing. So underneath import adder, we could import a module named math. Now, this is a standard Python library, and if we wanted to access the value of pi, we're able to do this by first of all putting the module name, so math. We can then place a dot, and then we can put pi. When we press return, you can see that we bring back 3.1415 and so on. So this way is us importing a module name and then accessing the functions from the module by placing the module name first, followed by the function name. Now we can also import and rename the modules to make it easier to reference it further down in our code. So for example, we could import adder as a, and the as a part is us creating an alias for this module name. And in our code now, we simply need to put the letter A, which will represent the adder module. So I can now put a, then place a dot, and then put the function add. If I were to put 2, 5, you can see that we return 7. If I were to try to access the module name adder after we've provided an alias, you can see that we'll run into a name error telling us that the name adder is not defined, and that's because we've imported it and renamed it upon the import. So if we do the same with the math module, we could put import math as m, and if I now put m.py, you can see that we bring back the same result. So this is a way that we can save time in typing out the module name. Just note here that you can't then reference the original module name after it has been aliased. It won't be defined and you'll run into a name error. Now we can also import specific names from a module without importing the module as a whole, so we can be more selective as to what we want to import into our Python script. So for example, if we just wanted to import the add function from the adder module, we could put from adder import add. Now this is just for illustrative purposes, and we know we only have one function in this module. But you can imagine if we had 1,000 functions in this module, we can be selective in what we choose. Now because we've imported a specific name from a module, we no longer need to reference that module's name. I can simply put the function add, place parentheses, and then put 4, 8. When I run this code, you can see that we bring back 12 as the result. And if I do the same for the pi attribute from the math module, so if I put from math import pi, if I now simply put pi, you can see that we bring back the result of pi. So in this example, just note we haven't had to use dot notation in order to access the specific functions and attributes. Now one final example I want to show you is where we can import all names from a module. And this is done by using star syntax. So if we wanted to import all names from the standard module math, we could put from math import and then place an asterisk. If I now access pi, you can see that we get the result accordingly. So here we have imported all the definitions from the math module. But this is not necessarily a good programming practice to follow. It can actually lead to duplicate definitions for an individual identifier, especially if there's a function in the math module that you've also created in another module. Not only that, in my opinion, it's not that readable either. So try to be more explicit in your imports so it's easier for other people to understand. So we've seen a few examples here how we can import modules and access specific functions when working across different Python files.